Hey everyone, this is the Frequent Flyer Review here. This is going to be the first video in a series of videos reviewing a number of frequent flyer programs and really trying to dig into some of the numbers and analyze the value inherent in them. So anyway, I'll start with Southwest Airlines and the Rapid Rewards program. But before diving into the Rapid Rewards program proper, it's important to understand that Southwest operates a little bit differently than other airlines. Firstly, they don't have standard assigned seating. So they, instead of issuing a seat number, they issue a number which could begin with A1, A2, A3, all the way up to A60, or B1, B2, B3, all the way up to B60, and so on. And anyway, upon boarding, A1 is the first to board, then A2, then A3, A4, and so on. There do not exist any business class or first class seats in Southwest flights, or at least the vast majority of them. So A1 gives you the right to board first, and you have the first choice of seats. So generally towards the front, windows and aisle seats are preferential compared to in the back and middle seats. But obviously that depends on the person. So anyway, so in reviewing the different fares that Southwest offers, Business Select guarantees that you'll be boarding A1 through A15, so that means you'll be one of the first 15 to board. You'll get a earnings bonus. We'll talk about earnings later. Free premium drink. So generally you can print off a coupon and hand it to the flight attendant. You get a free drink. Value that to how you will. And also, Business Select and Anytime fares are both fully refundable and changeable, which is really convenient for a lot of business travelers. And then also, standby travel is possible without having to pay a fare difference. So what this means is that, let's say you have a flight scheduled to depart at 6 p.m., but you arrive at the airport at 3:30, you get through security pretty quick at 3:45, and there's a flight departing at 4:15 from the same gate to the same city. You could ask to fly standby, and once everyone else is boarded and they see that there are vacant seats, then they can just board you on, and you don't have to pay any extra money. But in return for doing so, you might not be actually boarding A1 through A15. So that's the slight drawback. And the importance of boarding first is, yes, windows and aisle seats. Sitting towards the front means that you can deboard faster, so if you need to go somewhere immediately afterwards, then you can get on your way a little faster, particularly if you don't have a checked bag. And then also there's the element of the overhead bin space. If you board earlier, then it's almost certain that there will be overhead bin space for you to put your carry-on bag, so it doesn't have to end up in the aisle in front of you. Also, some people will seek out the emergency exit rows or row 1 where they don't have a seat in front of them. They have the bulkhead seat. So anyway, there are some advantages to purchasing Business Select or Anytime. Want to Get Away is generally the cheapest fare, and however, there are some drawbacks. It's not refundable. With Anytime or Business Select, just cancel 10 minutes before scheduled departure and you should be good to go. And with Want to Get Away, the seating is, you very well could end up as one of the last people boarding the plane. There's also something called early bird check-in that you can look into. It's, I think, normally $12.50 per flight. But anyway, so let's move on. So in Southwest, there are different tiers in their frequent flyer program. There's A-List, there's A-List Preferred, and then you can earn something called the Companion Pass. So A-List, you get that after flying 25 segments or earning 35,000 tier qualifying points. And with A-List Preferred, basically double that, 50 segments or 70,000 points. And the Companion Pass can be earned after 100 one-way segments or 110 qualifying points. And For those of you new to frequent flying, generally they reset everything on January 1st every year. So you have to earn it between January 1st and the end of the year. So the benefits along with A-List is that you get a 25% bonus in earnings. So one thing that's important to note as well is that these earnings count towards points that you can redeem towards other flights. They don't count towards future tier qualifying points. So for instance, let's say you get 35,000 points, and then you fly a route that would ordinarily get you 1,000 points. You're not getting 1,250 towards this. You're only getting the regular 1,000 towards this. The 1,250 is towards points that you can redeem for a future to purchase a future flight, an award flight. So you get priority boarding. So it's not going to be A1 through A15. Those go to the business select fares, but you'll be boarding shortly thereafter. Yeah, the priority check-in line and security lane access. So this varies by airport, particularly the security lane access. But if Southwest doesn't have a heavy presence at an airport, I generally wouldn't expect to get much benefit out of the security lane access. But if you're out of an airport that has a lot of Southwest, say Midway or Love Field in Dallas, you'll probably get some use out of security lane access. So if you do have to fly standby, then you're prioritized over people that are not A-list, which is nice. Dedicated phone line, and this phone line is probably even more well represented because it's A-list preferred over A-list. And with increasing number of planes that are fitted with Wi-Fi, this is a nice benefit that you get Wi-Fi for free with A-list preferred. And the dedicated phone lines are particularly important in situations of IROPS, which stands for irregular operations. So things like massive delays, bad weather, that sort of thing. This is when the phone line can really come in handy. All right, and so the companion pass, after 100 qualifying segments in a calendar year or 110,000 points, you can have your spouse, friends, whoever can fly along with you for free. So that's a really cool perk that a lot of people really like. All right, so so let's see, how are earnings points actually calculated? So first understand that normally when you pay for a flight on Southwest, included in that price are some amount of taxes and fees. But embedded in that cost, I'd guess it's maybe 90% of the cost is the so-called base fare. So if you pay for, let's say, a $220 flight, the base fare might be $200. Again, the 90% number is fairly arbitrary, just an estimate, but it gives you some idea. So anyway, if you buy Want to Get Away, which is generally the cheapest fare, and generally about half the price of Business Select, and maybe 60% of the price of Anytime, then you get 6 points for every dollar you spend. And if you purchase an Anytime fare, which again is fully refundable and has some other nice things to it, then you get 10 points for every dollar you spend. And Business Select, you get 12 points for every dollar you spend. And in terms of redeeming, redeemable points for future flights, then you get bonuses with A-list and A-list preferred. So here it's showing an example. If you have $250 base fare, and let's say you're a general member, meaning you don't have A-list or A-list preferred yet, and let's say you purchase an Anytime flight, then you get 10 points, which is the redeem rate for an Anytime fare, times $250, which is the amount you spent on the sample base fare. So maybe you spent $260, $265, $270 overall, but the base fare was $250, so you get 2,500 points. But let's say all of a sudden you're A-list preferred and you had that 100% bonus. then rather than getting 2,500 points, you get 5,000 points earned. And if you're just A-list, you get a 25% bonus. So 25% of 2,500 is 625, so 2,500 plus the 25%, which is 625, will get you to 3,125 points earned. So just to reiterate the point that, for instance, if you had something like this, these are 5,000 points that you can redeem on flights, but you only still get 2,500 points towards tier qualifying. So anyway, let's move on. I made this table here. So you get 12 points per dollar spent in Business Select, 10 points for Anytime, and 6 points for Wanna Get Away. And with A-List, the 25% bonus, it ends up being 15 points and 24 points, and so on. So let me explain this portion of the chart. So if you want to book a future flight with Rapid Rewards points, then you can do so at a redeem rate of 70 points per dollar. So let's say the base fare was $200 for a flight. Then if you take $200 times 70 points, that's 14,000 points. So for 14,000 points, you could cover the $200 base fare of the flight. However, it's important to note that you can't pay for certain taxes and fees with these points. Those aren't covered. But the vast majority of the flight, the base fare is covered by these points. All right, so liquid discount. So basically, if you buy a Business Select fare, and let's say you're not A-List or A-List Select, you gain 12 points, which if 70 points is worth $1, then for every dollar you spend, you're getting like 17.14 cents back in credit for future Southwest flights. If you have A-List, you're earning 15 points back, and at a redeem rate of, so for every dollar you spend, you get 15 points, which is worth 15/70ths, or about 21.43 cents back. So for every dollar you spend with A-List at Business Select, you're getting about 21.43 cents back in credit towards Southwest. And with A-List Preferred, you're getting 34.28 cents back for every dollar you spent. And likewise, let's say with Wanna Get Away, and let's say you're A-List, then you get, let's say you get 7.5 points for every dollar spent. So with this ratio, that means that you got 7.5 divided by 70, or 10.21 cents back if you're A-List for every dollar that you spent on a Wanna Get Away ticket. So anyway, there's quite a bit of savings here, and the reason I call it liquid discount is that you can't really think of it as being that large in savings if in order to actually redeem these miles, you sort of have to go out of your way. If you weren't planning on flying Southwest for another flight, but you really went out of your way to use these tickets, and it was a little inefficient in its usage, then you can think about dropping these numbers down. But if you fly very frequently and Southwest services your home airport quite well, and you can actually use these miles efficiently, then these numbers are fairly accurate here. All right, so let's do a little bit of analysis of qualifying for A-List and A-List Preferred and the companion pass. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to earn 35,000 tier qualifying points first, or 25 one-way segments first? So anyway, if you average more than 1,400 tier qualifying points per segment, you'll get to the 35,000 tier qualifying points first. If you take 35,000 divided by 25, that's 1,400. So if you're earning more than 1,400 tier qualifying points, you'll get to here first. If you are averaging less than 1,400, you'll get to the segments first. So what does that really mean? 1,400 points per segment, whatever. So if let's say you're flying Wanna Get Away. So you get 6 points per mile. So 1,400 points divided, or 6 points per dollar spent. So if you want 1,400 points, and divide 1,400 points for the flight, and you get 6 points per dollar spent, then this comes out to $233.33. So let's interpret that in a second. So if you plan exclusively to fly Want to Get Away, and you average more than $233 per segment that you purchase with Want to Get Away, then you'll probably earn the points before you'll earn the segments. If you average less than $233 per one-way segment, then you'll qualify for segments first. Again, assuming you're only using Want to Get Away. Let's say you're a business traveler and you want the flexibility of changeable fares, refundable fares, and so on. So you use Anytime, which gets you 10 points per dollar spent. Then if your one-way segments average $140 or more, you'll qualify on points before you'll qualify on segments. And if you fly only Business Select, then let's look at this, 116.67. So if you're averaging 117 plus, you'll probably qualify on points before you'll qualify on segments if you're flying only in Business Select, on the Business Select fare class. So notice that these numbers, both points and qualifying segments, are exactly double. So the dollar amounts I just quoted you for segments and for tier qualifying points are exactly the same for A-list and A-list preferred, because this 25% bonus, even though you'll start getting this for redemption of new miles, you won't get it towards tier qualifying points. So anyway, if you average more than $233 per segment, you'll get to points faster. If you average 140 or more, and you're flying Anytime, you'll get to points faster. If you average 117 or more in Business Select, you'll get to points faster. But if you average less than those amounts for those fare classes, then you'll get here on segments faster. All right, so let's look at the Companion Pass, which is a really nice perk if you have a reason for someone to be flying alongside you. So 100 segments or 110,000 qualifying points. So the ratio here is 1,400 points to one segment, and here 1,400 points to one segment. It suddenly changes here, 110,000 points or 100 segments. So that becomes 1,100 instead of 1,400. So suddenly it becomes a lot more likely that you'll qualify on segments here rather than qualifying on points, because that ratio changes. So you could redo the analysis here, and instead of using 1,400, we could do 1,100. So if you only fly Business Select, then if your fares average more than 92 points, you'll qualify on points first, which with Business Select fares is almost always more than $92. If you're flying Anytime, if your fares average 110 or more, then you'll qualify on points first before qualifying on segments, which almost always happens because Anytime is not the cheapest fare. But if you're flying on Want to Get Away and you fly on some of the cheaper flight segments that are averaging, I don't know, 100, 150 bucks, you might qualify on segments first. You have to average $183 or more to qualify on points before you'll qualify on segments. All right, and the last thing I should mention is the Southwest credit card offers that are available. So let's look at this. 25,000 bonus points after you spend $1,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. So let's assume for a second that you could easily rack up $1,000 of expenses, and you're not really going out of your way to do that in your first 3 months. Then you get 25,000 bonus points redeemable towards flights. Note that does not count towards tier qualifying, so it doesn't count towards qualifying for A-list or A-list preferred, but only for redeeming future flights. And a year later, you get 6,000 points. So with this Premier card, you get 31,000 points from these two things. So 31,000 points between these two after 1 year. So we look at 31,000 points, and we assume that you would be able to use these quite easily. Then 31,000 points at 70 points per dollar means that you can get about $443 of value out of these two benefits, if in fact you're planning on if in fact you're planning on flying on Southwest. You got to deduct a $99 annual fee, and keep in mind this is only you don't get this this bonus more than once. It only happens at the beginning of the credit card, and I'm not sure if this is once a year thing or whether this is only after the first year. I suspect it's only after the first year. And also, for every purchase you make, you can get 2 points per dollar. So for Southwest flights, and if let's say you book a rental car or a hotel with some of their partners, then it's also 2 points to 1, but otherwise it's 1 point per dollar spent. That doesn't include certain things like cash advances and so on. And this actually does count towards tier qualifying for the Premier card. But anyway, keep in mind there's a $99 fee, and that's annual, and this is a one-time thing, and I'm pretty sure this is a one-time thing. The analysis here is pretty similar, except you get 25,000 plus 3,000, which is then 28,000 bonus points, divided by 70 points per dollar. That's about $400 of value. The annual fee is less, and depending on how much you fly, you could get some more value out of this, or depending on what credit card you might already have. You might perhaps on some offer already be able to get 2 points per dollar spent on any sort of flying. So anyway, those are the credit card offers that are available. So this was my review of Southwest Airlines and Rapid Rewards, and sort of explaining the system that Southwest has. So if you have any questions, comments, corrections, let me know, and hopefully I'll have another video